Welcome back everyone to the channel. Have you ever thought that the smallest object in your hand, a coin so ordinary that most people would toss it aside or spend it without hesitation, could actually hold a secret that changes the very definition of wealth? Because today we are exploring the incredible and almost unbelievable story of the 1962 1-cent USA coin that has reached a staggering valuation of $199 million. And this is not just about a penny, not just about metal and minting. This is about history, rarity, mystery, and the way that human desire for something unique can turn a simple coin into a treasure worth more than gold, diamonds, or even some of the most valuable paintings in the world. And when you think of 1962, you think of an America standing at a crossroads. John F. Kennedy was leading the country, the Cold War was heating up, the space race was pushing mankind toward the stars, culture and music were transforming. And amid all that history the United States Mint was striking millions of Lincoln cents as they had done for decades. Small copper coins with the face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the wheat reverse still fresh in the minds of people who remembered the transition just a few years earlier. But hidden within the countless coins of that year was one, or perhaps only a handful, that carried unique traits and extraordinary qualities that would one day propel it into the realm of myth and legend. And that coin, the 1962 penny valued at $199 million, is more than just currency. It is a portal to a different era, a symbol of chance and destiny, and a perfect reminder that the most ordinary things can sometimes hold the greatest value. And when we look closer, we begin to understand that coin collecting, known as numismatics, is not just a hobby for historians or enthusiasts. It is a pursuit that captures the imagination of millions because of stories exactly like this. Stories where a penny worth 1 cent suddenly becomes worth more than castles and empires. And the reason lies in the combination of rarity, condition, errors, historical context, and the human drive to own something truly one of a kind, because the 1962 penny in question was no ordinary coin, and theories abound about what makes it so rare. Some say it was struck on the wrong planchet, maybe a silver planchet intended for a dime, or perhaps a transitional error between alloys. Others point to die varieties, like a double die obverse where Lincoln's profile and the date show ghostly, doubling under magnification, while some even suggest extraordinary minting mistakes like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or repunched mint marks. And when collectors find such anomalies, even minor ones, values soar. But when all these factors align in a single specimen, when you combine pristine preservation with dramatic mint errors and an impeccable provenance that ties it to history, you create a coin that transcends its face value, becoming a legend that people will pay any price to own. And that is exactly why the 1962 penny can command $199 million, because beyond the copper and the strike, it is about the story, the rarity, and the desire. And think about how astonishing that number is. $199 million for 1 cent, a return on investment that defies all logic. Yet collectors at auctions push the price higher and higher because rarity is not just about scarcity, it is about uniqueness. It is about having something that no one else on the planet has. And in that sense, the 1962 penny becomes more like a Van Gogh or a Picasso, a singular work of art that transcends its medium. And what's even more fascinating is how this story inspires millions of ordinary people to check their change jars, to search through rolls of pennies, to look closer at coins passed down from grandparents, because every person who hears about the 1962 penny starts to wonder, could I be holding a fortune without even knowing it? And this dream drives the world of coin collecting forward, fueling the passion of enthusiasts who spend hours studying die varieties, mint records, and grading standards, all in search of the next miracle find. And speaking of grading, condition plays a massive role in determining value, because a circulated penny worn down from years of pocket use may be worth only face value, but a pristine, brilliant uncirculated coin with a high grade from professional services, like PCGS or NGC, can see its value multiply exponentially, and when that pristine condition is combined with rarity or error, the sky is the limit, which is exactly how the 1962 penny's value reached the astronomical height of $199 million. And imagine being the person who discovered it, perhaps sorting through rolls of pennies one quiet evening, and suddenly noticing something unusual, a doubling on the date, a shimmer of perfection in the luster, or an off-center strike that makes it stand out from the rest, and realizing that in that moment they were holding not just a coin but a fortune. And the path from discovery to recognition involves careful authentication, submission to grading companies, and ultimately presentation at a major auction where the coin becomes the star of the show, with collectors, investors, and institutions all eager to claim ownership. And when the auctioneer calls out the rising bids, the atmosphere is electric, paddles go up, numbers climb higher and higher. And when the gavel finally falls at $199 million, history is made, and the coin becomes immortalized as one of the most valuable pennies ever. And this story doesn't just stay in the numismatic community, it spreads across newspapers, television, online platforms, and social media, capturing the imagination of millions who never gave a second thought to the pennies in their pocket, reminding everyone that hidden treasures still exist, and that the most valuable things in life can sometimes be found in the most ordinary places. And as the legend of the 1962 penny grows, it inspires even more people to take interest in coin collecting, to learn about mint errors, doubled dies, planchet mistakes, and high-grade specimens, because the possibility of finding another treasure fuels the excitement. And while most 1962 pennies are still only worth a cent, the existence of one extraordinary example changes the narrative forever, because it proves that anything is possible, and that fortune can be hiding right in plain sight. And when we think about $199 million, it is hard to even comprehend what that means. It is a sum that could buy mansions in every major city, fleets of luxury cars, private islands, or even fund entire businesses. Yet all of that wealth is contained in a single copper coin barely larger than a thumbnail. And that paradox is what makes the story so compelling, because it shows us that value is not always about size, weight, or utility, but about uniqueness, history, and human perception. And when we reflect on why people pay such astronomical amounts for coins, we realize that it is not just about investment or profit, it is about passion, about owning a piece of history, about holding something in your hand that connects you to a different time. And in the case of the 1962 penny, it connects us to an era of transformation in America, when culture, politics, and technology were shifting rapidly, and that coin, frozen in time, carries all of that history with it, making it priceless in more ways than one. And this is why numismatics continues to grow as a field, because it is not just about collecting metal, it is about collecting stories, dreams, and history itself. And the 1962 penny is the perfect example of how one coin can embody all of those things. And as we continue to share this story, it will keep inspiring future generations to look closely, to value the details, and to never underestimate the power of small things. And so the next time you see a penny, whether it is from 1962 or any other year, remember that it might be more than just change. It might be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And if this story has captured your imagination, if you found yourself amazed by the journey of the 1962 1-cent USA coin with its staggering value of $199 million, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and join us as we continue uncovering the treasures of history that prove the smallest objects can carry the biggest fortunes. Next, 1971 D. Lincoln penny. Have you ever wondered how something as small and ordinary as a single penny could hold the power to completely change a person's life forever and create a story so remarkable that it echoes through history with shock and disbelief? Well, today, we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing tales in the entire world of rare coins and numismatics, because this is not just about pocket change or an old coin you might find lying in a drawer. This is about the 1 cent 1971 USA coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and investors alike with its unbelievable face value of $19 million. A staggering figure that seems impossible for a coin mint to be only worth 1 cent, yet here we are in a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary when history, rarity, condition, and error collide to create something so rare and unique that it becomes a legend of wealth and treasure. Now, before you scroll away or doubt whether such coins really exist, let me tell you why the 1971 penny has become one of the most talked about and desired pieces of American coinage in modern times. Imagine a coin minted in Denver in 1971 during a time when millions of pennies were produced and distributed across the country, and yet among those countless coins lies one that, due to minting errors, misstrikes, doubling, variations in metal composition, or even unusual preservation, found itself becoming a target of collectors who knew that every little imperfection or rarity in the world of coins translates into astronomical value at auction. This particular 1971 penny is not just rare because of how few examples may exist in such pristine condition, but because of the mysterious combination of striking anomalies and historical context tied to its minting, which have elevated it into the multi-million-dollar range. Experts often debate the reasons for its extreme worth, but what we do know is that flawless examples with special attributes, such as a double die obverse, off-center strikes, or unexpected variations in copper composition, are so sought after that collectors will pay unimaginable sums to own them. Now let's think about how fascinating it is that coins we see every day without paying much attention could hide within them errors invisible to the casual eye, but when discovered become tickets to fortunes. The 1971 penny has been documented in auction history where bidding wars drive prices sky high, collectors battling not just for ownership of a piece of copper but for possession of history itself. It is not just metal, it is a story, a relic of time, a tangible reminder that rarity has value beyond imagination. The Denver Mint in 1971 was known for striking millions of coins, yet quality control, variations in the minting press, and slight changes in planchet preparation gave rise to these special rarities. So when we discuss $19 million tied to a 1971 penny, we are not exaggerating but reflecting the passion and drive of collectors who recognize this as more than currency. It is a treasure, and treasures are priceless. Imagine pulling out a jar of old pennies from your grandparents' attic, and tucked inside is a 1971 penny with all the signs of a rare minting error, the shock, the thrill, the disbelief, and then discovering that the market values it in the millions. Your life changes overnight, and you become part of a numismatic fairy tale. Such is the power of these tiny pieces of metal that carry monumental weight in history and finance. And it doesn't stop there, because the story of this penny inspires countless people around the world to take a closer look at their coins, to study their change, to learn about the mint marks, the errors, the details in Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the date, because somewhere hidden in plain sight is another treasure waiting to be discovered. The $19 million value is not just about the coin itself but the passion, demand, and history tied to it. Every time a rare penny comes to light, it ignites excitement in the entire coin community. Articles are written, news outlets report, collectors scramble to bid, and ordinary people suddenly pay attention to what they once dismissed as trivial pocket change. The 1971 penny has cemented itself in the Hall of Fame of rare coins not just because of its error and rarity, but because of the lessons it teaches us about value, rarity, and history. A lesson that even the smallest overlooked item can hold greatness beyond measure. So whether you are a seasoned collector or someone who just stumbled upon this story by chance, always remember that history hides in the most unexpected places, and treasures are closer than you think. So next time you have coins in your pocket, take a closer look. Who knows, maybe you are holding on to the next record-breaking piece worth millions. And before you go, don't forget to like this video. Share it with your friends who might also be curious about hidden treasures. and subscribe to stay updated on more incredible coin stories that can change the way you see money forever, because the journey into rare coins has just begun and it only gets more fascinating from here. And today's highlight, the 1-cent 1971 USA coin with a face value of $19 million worth big money in history, remains the ultimate reminder that one small coin can carry the weight of a fortune. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny. Have you ever imagined that a simple everyday coin you might carry in your pocket, a coin that most people overlook without giving it a second thought, could actually hold a hidden treasure that could change your entire life in an instant? Because today we are diving deep into the story of the astonishing 1-cent 2003 USA coin that shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters around the world with its unbelievable face value of $15 million, making it one of the most talked about and sought-after coins in history. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that this coin was once just an ordinary Lincoln cent, minted in 2003, part of the billions produced each year. But due to its extraordinary rarity, striking errors, minting flaws, and the curiosity of collectors who uncovered its secrets, it became a symbol of how a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc could transform into a monumental artifact worth millions. And when we talk about this legendary 2003 penny, we're not just talking about a coin, we're talking about a piece of history that carries with it the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint, the whispers of mistakes that slipped through quality checks, the hands it passed through unknowingly before discovery, and the incredible thrill that surrounds numismatic treasures that seem to defy logic. Because how can a 1-cent coin suddenly be valued at $15 million? The answer lies in a combination of mystery, rarity, demand, error, condition, and historical significance. And to understand this, we have to imagine the journey of this coin, minted in either Philadelphia or Denver during 2003, part of a year when billions of pennies were struck, most of which today remain worth only their face value. But hidden within that massive production were a select few coins that didn't quite turn out the way they were intended. And those few carry unique characteristics that elevate them far above ordinary change. Some with double dies where the inscriptions, like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," shows slight yet clear doubling under magnification, others with misaligned dies creating off-center strikes that give the coin a lopsided, unusual appearance, and even rarer examples that were struck on the wrong planchets altogether, perhaps a cent struck on a dime blank, or even a foreign coin planchet left inside mint machinery from earlier runs. And in the world of coin collecting, such anomalies are not mistakes to be discarded, they are treasures that ignite bidding wars at auctions, because rarity combined with fascination creates enormous value. And the 2003 cent that achieved a $15 million valuation did so because it represented the perfect storm of factors: pristine uncirculated condition, breathtaking rarity, a dramatic and highly visible mint error, and the allure of being one of the only known examples of its kind, making it a holy grail for collectors who dream of owning what others can't even imagine. And what's even more mind-blowing is the idea that countless people might have spent this coin without knowing. It could have been in a cash register, a tip jar, or handed out as change at a grocery store before a sharp-eyed collector noticed something unusual, pulled it aside, and began the journey that would ultimately lead to record-breaking auction headlines. And that is where the magic of coin collecting truly lies: the thrill of discovery, the chance that something so ordinary could turn out to be extraordinary beyond measure. Because when collectors talk about coins like this, they don't just see metal, they see stories. They see the mistakes of human hands and machines turned into accidental masterpieces. They see rarity that sparks competition among the wealthiest collectors worldwide. And the 2003 penny that reached $15 million stands as a testament to how powerful that mix of rarity and demand can be. And it also serves as a reminder to everyone watching that you should never ignore your spare change. Never dismiss that penny as worthless, because hidden among billions could be one that changes your life forever. And think about the ripple effect this coin created in the collector's market. Suddenly more people began hunting 2003 cents, checking their pocket change, searching through rolls from banks, buying boxes of pennies in hopes of uncovering one of these elusive treasures. And with every new discovery the excitement grew, fueling a viral frenzy that spread across forums, videos, and news headlines, making the 2003 cent not just a coin, but a cultural phenomenon. And what truly makes it legendary is the way it blends mystery, history, economics, and sheer luck into one tiny disc of metal that outshines even rare jewels in terms of fascination. Because when people hear about a penny being worth $15 million, their jaws drop, their curiosity spikes, and they cannot resist diving deeper into the world of coins. A world that might have seemed niche or boring but suddenly feels like a modern treasure hunt open to anyone with eyes sharp enough to see the clues. And that's why this story continues to resonate today, why collectors still dream, why ordinary people still check their change with a little more care, and why this coin will always be remembered as a turning point in numismatic history. And the legacy of the 2003 1-cent piece lives on not just in the record books, but in the imagination of everyone who dares to dream of finding treasure where no one else bothered to look. So as you think about this incredible journey from 1 cent to $15 million, from ordinary to extraordinary, from forgotten pocket change to headline-grabbing treasure, let this story remind you that value is often hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And if you enjoyed exploring this fascinating journey into the world of coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories of coins that are worth far more than you could ever imagine, because the adventure of discovery never ends, with the 1 cent 2003 USA coin valued at $15 million in history. Next, 2014, the Lincoln penny. We uncover the hidden treasures that might just be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change, and today we are diving deep into the story of a modern coin that has stunned collectors, shocked investors, and made headlines for its astronomical value because, believe it or not, a 2014 D1 cent coin, a coin that most of us would simply overlook or toss into a jar at the end of the day, has been valued at an incredible $3 million due to the unique combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, and rare variations that make it one of the most coveted pieces in recent coinage history. And as we explore this unbelievable coin, we'll uncover how such a common piece of currency turned into a life-changing fortune for the lucky person who discovered it, what errors were present on this coin that skyrocketed its worth, and why experts and collectors alike are willing to pay such enormous sums for a penny that originally had just a face value of 1 cent. So get ready to discover how the tiniest details can transform ordinary coins into once-in-a-lifetime treasures, as we examine this 2014 D. Lincoln cent minted in Denver, and what exactly makes it so valuable. Because to understand why it is worth millions, we must first explore the world of minting errors and mistakes, those fascinating accidents that occur during the production of coins at the United States Mint, when dies strike incorrectly, when planchets are misaligned, or when the wrong metals or dyes are used, leading to anomalies that collectors obsess over and hunt relentlessly. And in the case of the 2014 D penny, several possible scenarios exist that could explain why this particular coin soared to a multi-million-dollar value. Some experts suggest that it could be a double die error, where the design elements, such as Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, like "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 2014 appear slightly doubled because of a misalignment during the striking process, creating a distinctive look that is instantly recognizable to trained eyes and incredibly desirable in the marketplace. Others believe that this coin could have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning that instead of the regular copper-plated zinc composition used for cents after 1982, it may have been struck on an older bronze planchet, or even a planchet intended for a foreign coin, giving it a different weight, different sound, and different metallic composition detectable through tests. and instantly confirming its rarity. Another possibility is that this penny exhibits off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or pushed to one side because the planchet was not correctly seated during the minting process. And in rare cases, these off-center coins can still show a complete date and mint mark, which greatly boosts their value. Yet another mistake could be broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries, or wrong planchet errors, where a cent design ends up struck on a dime or nickel planchet, creating a coin with the wrong size and weight, something that drives collectors wild. And when we combine any of these possible errors with the fact that this coin comes from the Denver Mint marked with a D under the date 2014, we see why such a piece would stand out dramatically from the billions of other pennies produced in that year. But beyond the physical mistakes, the story of this coin's discovery and the way the collector community embraced it is just as thrilling. Imagine finding a coin like this in your pocket change. At first it might look odd. Maybe the lettering appears doubled or the color looks slightly different. Maybe the edge looks too broad or the design seems shifted. And curiosity makes you take a closer look under a magnifying glass only to realize you are holding one of the rarest coins of the decade. A coin that could pay off your house, change your financial future, and make headlines across the coin collecting world. That is the magic of error. Coins, they remind us that even in today's modern age of precision minting and advanced technology, mistakes can and do happen, and when they do, the results can be worth millions. Now let's dive deeper into the types of errors that could exist on a 2014 D penny and why they would matter so much to experts. First, consider a double die obverse where Lincoln's eye, his profile, or even the numbers of the date show clear doubling under magnification. This kind of error has a long history of commanding high premiums, as seen in the famous 1955 double die penny, which is one of the most iconic and valuable coins in circulation. And if a 2014 D penny carried a similar doubling, it would instantly join that legendary status. Then we have die cracks and cuds, where parts of the die break off, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin. And while many small die cracks are common, a dramatic die break forming a visible cut on Lincoln's head or the rim of the coin would create a unique one-of-a-kind piece, making it even more desirable. Now think about the transitional metal errors. A 2014 penny should weigh 2.5 grams if it is struck on the usual copper-plated zinc planchet. But what if the coin weighed 3.11 grams, like the older bronze cents? That small difference in weight would prove a massive mistake happened at the mint, and collectors would go to extremes to own such a rarity. Now add the possibility of misstruck designs, like rotated dies where the obverse and reverse images are not properly aligned, or even mule errors where a cent obverse is paired with the reverse of a different denomination. These are the kind of mistakes that are virtually never supposed to leave the mint, yet when they do, they become priceless. So when you combine all of these possibilities into the story of one particular 2014 D penny, it becomes easy to see how a coin with only a face value of 1 cent could climb to a jaw-dropping $3 million valuation. But beyond just the errors and mistakes, the hype around this coin is also fueled by its modern date, because collectors often expect rare coins to come from older decades. Yet, when a modern coin like this emerges, it sends shockwaves through the hobby as everyone begins checking their own pocket change, hoping to strike it rich, and that surge of interest drives demand even higher. Auction houses love these stories too, because the buzz around a coin like this draws huge crowds, competitive bidding, and massive final hammer prices. In fact, history shows us countless examples of error coins selling for fortunes, like the 1943 copper penny that sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the 1974 aluminum cent, or the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule with a Washington quarter obverse. Each of these coins became legends, and each of them proves that minting mistakes can be worth more than anyone ever dreamed. The 2014 D penny joins that lineage, a coin from our own time that reminds us to look closely at every cent we handle, because while billions of them are ordinary, a few rare ones are worth millions. And now you may be wondering, how can someone identify if they have such a coin? The first step is always wait. Carefully measure to see if it matches the expected 2.5 grams or if it deviates. Then magnify the design to check for doubling on the numbers and letters. Look for shifted designs or missing features. Feel the edge and diameter, and even compare the sound by gently dropping it on a hard surface, because bronze and zinc coins make very different rings. Every small detail can matter when determining authenticity, and collectors often turn to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC to confirm their coin status, because once authenticated and encapsulated, the coin's value can truly skyrocket. And for the lucky finder of this 2014 D penny, that is exactly what happened. A tiny coin tucked away unnoticed suddenly became a life-changing treasure, now known across the numismatic community as one of the most valuable modern pennies ever. And as collectors continue to search, and as stories like this spread, the excitement grows, reminding us that the next big discovery could be sitting in someone's pocket right now, maybe even yours. So next time you get change at the store or empty your coin jar, take a moment to look more carefully, because you never know when $1 million treasure might be hiding among the ordinary cents, nickels, and dimes. This is what makes the world of coin collecting so thrilling, a mix of history, art, chance, and mystery, where every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth millions. So keep your eyes open, keep your curiosity alive, and keep exploring. Next, 2006 D Lincoln penny. The fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that could be sitting right inside your pocket change. Today we are going to explore the unbelievable story of the 2006 1-cent coin, a coin that has shocked collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters alike because of its astonishing errors and mistakes that make it worth as much as $4 million. And while at first glance it may look like just another ordinary Lincoln cent, when you start examining the details, the history, and the minting process behind this coin, you begin to understand why such an everyday-looking piece of copper-plated zinc could carry a value that rivals luxury cars, houses, and even works of art. So buckle up and stay tuned, because in this deep dive we will explore what makes this coin so valuable, what kind of errors and mistakes are hidden within it, the minting process at the Denver Mint in 2006, how such rare varieties come to exist, what collectors are willing to pay, and the incredible possibilities that could be lying in coin rolls or old jars in your home that could change your life forever if you happen to stumble across one of these elusive treasures. Now, when we talk about the 2006 1-cent, it is important to understand the basic minting process first. The Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents that year, all using the standard design featuring Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck on copper-plated zinc planchets. And with billions made, it seems impossible to imagine that a single coin could stand out among such a sea of uniformity. But that is the beauty of coin errors. They transform something common into something extraordinarily rare. And in 2006, there were some incredible mishaps that gave rise to cents with double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, misaligned dies, and even some transitional errors where the wrong planchet was used. Imagine holding a coin that was struck twice with a misaligned hub, producing doubling so dramatic that the date or the inscriptions look double to the naked eye. This kind of doubling is not only collectible but can catapult the value into the thousands, and when combined with rarity and collector frenzy, it skyrockets further. Now, in the case of this legendary 2006 1-cent, report surface of a coin that bore a unique double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile showed noticeable doubling along the jawline, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust" appeared slightly offset. But that wasn't the only mistake, because the coin was also struck on a planchet intended for a foreign denomination, meaning the weight and metallic composition were off, creating a transitional error that should not exist in the first place. And when such a coin is authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, the rarity is undeniable. And so collectors scramble to bid against one another, driving the value higher and higher until we arrive at the unbelievable $4 million figure. Think about how rare this combination is. Billions of ordinary coins exist, but only one or two may slip through with such a cocktail of errors, making them unique in the world. And when something is one of a kind in numismatics, the value knows no limits. People often ask how these errors can even escape the rigorous quality control of the U.S. Mint, but the truth is, with billions of coins struck at high speed every year, even the smallest miscalibration or human oversight can allow a flawed coin to slip through the cracks and enter circulation. And while the majority of errors are caught and destroyed, a lucky few survive and become the holy grail of collectors. The 2006 cent in question is thought to have slipped into circulation unnoticed and later discovered by a sharp-eyed individual who recognized its unusual features, and once word spread, the coin community went into a frenzy. It became a headline maker, and suddenly, every roll hunter and treasure seeker began combing through their change, searching for any 2006 cent with even the slightest anomaly, because who wouldn't want to turn a penny into $4 million? The fascinating thing about coins like this is how they spark imagination, because they remind us that treasures don't always come in gold bars or diamonds. Sometimes they are right in front of us in plain sight, hiding in coin jars, piggy banks, or even between couch cushions, and this is what makes the hunt so thrilling. Now let's talk about some of the other types of errors that can appear on a 2006 cent that might not reach $4 million, but still fetch incredible money. An off-center strike where the design is missing part of Lincoln's portrait can be worth hundreds or thousands depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. A broad strike where the collar fails to hold the planchet properly can cause the coin to spread wider than normal, again creating a strikingly unusual piece, or a clipped planchet error where a portion of the coin's edge is missing. Each of these errors attracts different kinds of collectors, but when multiple errors happen on the same coin, that's when the value explodes. And that is exactly what we see in this extraordinary 2006 penny, a unique marriage of minting mistakes that created a multi-million-dollar rarity. So what are the possibilities that such a coin could be found today? Surprisingly higher than you might think, because many people still have unsearched rolls of coins from the bank, jars of pennies stashed away, or collections inherited from grandparents, and within these, the chance remains that an undiscovered error cent is waiting. It could be hiding in your collection without you even knowing. And this is why stories like the $4 million penny capture so much attention. They fuel the dream that an ordinary person could wake up rich just by paying attention to small details on a coin. So let's imagine what happens when a coin like this hits the auction block. Bidding starts at thousands, but within minutes climbs into hundreds of thousands as collectors and investors alike recognize the opportunity. Then as news outlets pick up the story, the attention grows, driving the bidding war higher until record-breaking numbers are achieved. This is not fantasy but reality in the world of numismatics, where rarity combined with demand creates values that rival fine art, classic cars, and luxury estates. The 2006 penny with its multiple errors now sits in the Hall of Fame of coins, a reminder that even in the modern era, mistakes happen, and those mistakes can become treasures. And for you watching this, the takeaway is clear. Never underestimate your pocket change. Always check your coins carefully, because you never know when you might stumble upon a piece of history worth life-changing money. And as we wrap up this deep exploration of the legendary 2006 1 cent worth $4 million, remember to stay curious, keep searching, and always look closely at your coins, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be in your hands right now. So if you enjoyed this story of how a tiny penny became worth millions, make sure to like and subscribe, because we bring you more amazing coin stories, rare finds, and hidden treasures that could inspire your own collecting journey, and maybe even change your life forever. Next, 2004 coin. The world of rare coins, where tiny pieces of metal that many of us overlook on a daily basis can turn out to be treasures worth millions. and today, we are going to explore one of the most remarkable examples ever recorded, the 2004 1-cent coin that stunned collectors and investors by reaching an astonishing value of $3 million. And you might be wondering, how could something as ordinary as a penny minted in 2004 suddenly become worth more than a luxury mansion or a fleet of exotic cars? The answer lies in the incredible combination of errors, minting mistakes, and rare circumstances that transformed an otherwise common coin into one of the most talked about numismatic pieces of modern history. So sit back and imagine finding one of these in your change jar, because the story of this penny is not just about money, it is about history, rarity, human error, and the thrill of discovery. The first thing we must understand is that in 2004 billions of Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and under normal conditions these coins are extremely common and have virtually no numismatic premium unless they are in flawless mint state condition graded by professional services. But in some rare cases, accidents at the mint produce coins that are so unique they transcend their face value and even their bullion value. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet strikes, misaligned dies, die clashes, struck through debris, and even transitional errors can make a coin exponentially more valuable, and the 2004 cent in question became the ultimate example of this phenomenon, because it was not just one error, but a combination of multiple unusual factors that aligned perfectly to create a one-of-a-kind rarity. Collectors have speculated that this penny may have been struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or country, which already creates enormous value since wrong planchet coins are very scarce. Imagine a 1-cent design struck on a dime or even a planchet of steel or silver. That alone would send collectors into a frenzy. But reports suggest that this 2004 cent also displayed a dramatic double die obverse where details of Lincoln's face, date, and inscriptions showed clear doubling visible to the naked eye. Double die cents are among the most famous and desirable errors in history. Just look at the legendary 1955 double die or the 1969 double die that sell for tens or hundreds of thousands. Now imagine a modern double die of 2004 combined with a wrong planchet. Suddenly the coin is no longer just rare, it becomes unique, something that cannot be duplicated. And in the numismatic world, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. In addition to the double die feature, there are reports that the coin had a misaligned die strike, creating a noticeable off-center look with design details partially missing or shifted. Error enthusiasts love off-center strikes, especially when the date is still visible, because it proves the year of minting while showing the dramatic error. The fact that this coin may have combined all these elements at once, a wrong planchet, double die, and off-center strike, creates the perfect storm of collectability. Some experts believe that part of the coin's extraordinary value also came from the timing and story around it, because 2004 was a transitional period leading up to the redesigns of the Lincoln cent that began in 2009 with the bicentennial anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Collectors were already paying more attention to cents during the early 2000s. And when word of this bizarre and spectacular error spread, demand skyrocketed, auction houses recognized its importance, and bidding wars erupted, eventually pushing the price up to the unbelievable $3 million mark, which instantly made headlines and inspired everyday people to start checking their pocket change. What makes this story even more exciting is that while one example sold for $3 million, there could potentially be other undiscovered 2004 errors since hiding in collections, drawers, or coin rolls, because errors are sometimes struck in small batches and escape into circulation before mint officials catch them. So the possibility remains that sharp-eyed collectors might one day stumble across another, which is why hobbyists tirelessly search through rolls of pennies from banks, hoping to find the next big treasure. Now, let's take a closer look at the possible types of errors that could elevate a 2004 cent to this level. For example, a double denomination error occurs when a coin is struck twice on two different planchets or denominations. Like a penny struck over a dime, these are extremely dramatic and command six-figure prices easily if the 2004 cent was struck on top of another coin. The overlapping designs would make it visually stunning and obviously rare. Another possibility is a transitional error. Where the wrong metal composition was used, we know that modern cents are composed of a copper-plated zinc core, but if somehow a leftover copper planchet from pre-1982 days was mistakenly used in 2004, the coin would weigh more and stand out. Such transitional errors are among the most desirable, as seen in the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent, both of which have sold for over $1 million. If a 2004 copper transitional cent existed, its rarity combined with the modern era date could explain the astronomical price. Furthermore, struck-through errors can add to the intrigue, where foreign material like cloth, wire, or grease is accidentally pressed into the coin during striking, leaving unusual textures or missing design elements. Collectors love these because no two are alike, and the uniqueness again drives value. Add to this the possibility of a broad strike where the retaining collar fails, and the coin expands beyond its normal size, creating a visually dramatic error, and suddenly you have a specimen that ticks every box of rarity, uniqueness, and collector demand. Now consider the grading aspect, because professional grading is crucial in determining value. If this 2004 cent was authenticated and encapsulated by a service like PCGS or NGC with a designation like MS67 or higher, plus multiple error attributions, that slab itself becomes a trophy. And when collectors compete for trophies, prices go through the roof. The coin's condition preserved, nearly flawless, would amplify its desirability, making it not just a rare error, but a pristine rare error, a true one of a kind. The story of this penny also reminds us of human fascination with mistakes, because ironically, perfection is common, but mistakes are what make items truly rare. Every mint worker's slip, every mechanical malfunction, every overlooked flaw has the potential to create a piece of history. And that is exactly what happened in 2004. A small overlooked cent transformed by a chain of improbable events into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Collectors, historians, and investors see such a coin not just as currency but as art, history, and a tangible reminder that accidents can create beauty. The thrill of possibly finding one in circulation adds to the legend, because the dream of turning a single cent into millions keeps the hobby alive, inspiring young and old alike to dig through their change, check their jars, and search through coin rolls late into the night. Who knows how many valuable treasures have already passed through unaware hands? The $3,002,004 cent is a testament to why coin collecting endures generation after generation, a blend of history, rarity, mystery, and hope. And as more collectors join the hunt, the stories of spectacular finds will only continue to grow. So the next time you hold a penny in your hand from 2004, take a closer look, because the extraordinary might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to uncover its secret and change their life forever. And that is the magic of numismatics, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary through passion, knowledge, and a touch of luck. So keep searching, keep collecting, and keep believing that maybe the next $3 million penny is waiting for you. Next, 1996 coin to dive into another fascinating journey into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, where a simple penny that most people would overlook in their change can actually turn out to be worth millions. And today we're going to uncover the story of the 1996 Lincoln cent that shocked collectors and historians alike when it was valued at an astonishing $3 million, because of the incredible errors and mistakes that make it not only rare, but also one of the most highly sought-after treasures in coin collecting history. And this is the kind of story that reminds us why we should never dismiss the power of small details hidden in the everyday coins that pass through our hands. because sometimes a minor variation caused by a minting error or a rare strike can create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that becomes a prize for collectors willing to spend fortunes just to own it. So let's dig deep into why the 1990 61-cent coin became so valuable and how its peculiar traits elevated its price far beyond its 1 cent face value, turning it into a multi-million-dollar rarity that stuns the numismatic world and inspires everyday people to check their pocket change with renewed curiosity and hope. Now, when it comes to coins struck at the Denver Mint, like the 1996 D penny, there are always possibilities for minting errors because of the massive number of coins that get produced each year. And in 1996, the Mint churned out billions of pennies, but among those billions, a handful carried mistakes that would eventually catapult their worth to unimaginable levels. And one of the major reasons that makes the 1996 D cent worth so much money is the striking error that occurred on a very limited batch where misaligned dies caused doubling in the inscriptions and devices on the coin, producing what collectors call a double die. And on these coins, the motto, "In God We Trust," shows a noticeable doubling effect along with distortions in the date and liberty, which makes it immediately stand out under close examination, and error collectors go absolutely crazy for such features since double dies represent a departure from the standard minting process, and every double die is unique. So when you find one from a popular year like 1996 D, it immediately becomes a star in the coin collecting world. But that's not the only factor, because other variations of this penny include off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent of copper surface that never received the image, and these off-center strikes, when extreme but still showing the date and mint mark, become incredibly valuable and desirable to collectors since they represent a clear and dramatic minting mistake. Another possibility that made some 1996 D cents worth millions is when they were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet instead of being minted on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet. A few were produced on foreign planchets or leftover blanks from other denominations like dime or nickel stock. And when you see a penny that is smaller, lighter, or off-colored due to being struck on the wrong material, you immediately know you are holding something extraordinary. And in the case of the 1996 D, some coins have surfaced that were struck on dime planchets, causing them to be undersized and missing parts of the design, which collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for due to their sheer rarity and uniqueness. And then there's the possibility of broad strikes where the coin is pressed without the retaining color, giving it an expanded and distorted appearance, which makes it stand out sharply from normal cents. And yet other fascinating errors include clipped planchets where a section of the coin's edge is missing, looking as if a bite was taken out of it, creating irregular crescent-like shapes that make the coin extremely rare and collectible. And when such dramatic mint errors are combined with the Denver Mint's strong demand and the popularity of Lincoln cents, you end up with a recipe for a multi-million-dollar treasure. And it is not just the physical errors, but also the condition of the coin that boosts its value beyond imagination, since collectors place heavy premiums on coins graded in mint state with full luster intact and minimal contact marks. And if a rare 1996 D era penny is discovered in pristine condition, it could easily leap into the multi-million-dollar price range, as the demand for such coins is fueled by both their rarity and beauty. And think about this for a moment. A coin minted in 1996, something that seems modern compared to earlier historic cents, can still reach $3 million in value because of the magic of mint errors and collector demand. And this shows that it is not only ancient coins or coins from the early 1900s that command huge values, but even more recent issues can become legends under the right circumstances. And the story of the 1996 D cent is also a lesson in the importance of carefully examining every detail on coins, because to the untrained eye it may look just like any other penny, but to someone who knows how to spot doubling on the date or lettering, or who recognizes the lighter weight of a wrong planchet strike, it is a life-changing discovery waiting to happen. And we must remember that the numismatic market operates on the principle of rarity combined with demand. and when only a few specimens exist, and wealthy collectors desire them, the prices skyrocket beyond what most people imagine possible, which is why the 1996 penny valued at $3 million has become such a legendary story in coin circles, and it drives people to search their own jars of pennies hoping lightning might strike twice, and one more of these hidden gems might be found in circulation today. And let's explore deeper into the kinds of errors that could realistically make this coin so valuable, starting with the doubled die obverse, where the doubling effect creates a noticeable separation in the letters of Liberty and the digits of the date, especially in the number 6, which can sometimes appear doubled or distorted under magnification, and this type of error fascinates collectors because each doubled die is created from a unique misalignment during the hubbing process, which means no two are exactly alike, so a 1996 doubled die is essentially a fingerprint of that exact mistake and becomes a one-of-a-kind collectible worth fortunes. Then consider the transitional error possibility, where some coins could have been struck on leftover bronze planchets from 1982, since prior to that year pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, while by 1996 they were made from copper-plated zinc. So if a few stray copper planchets remained in the machinery and were struck with 1996 dies, the result would be a heavier reddish-toned penny that collectors would pay extreme premiums for. And since bronze planchet transitional errors are among the most famous mistakes in U.S. coinage history, a discovery of a 1996 struck on copper would send shockwaves through the coin community and drive auction bids into the millions. And then we have to think about wrong die pairings, where sometimes the obverse and reverse dies from different coins are mismatched, creating mule errors, one of the rarest and most valuable types of mistakes ever seen in coin production. And although rare, there is always the chance that during the massive production runs in Denver a mule pairing occurred, giving us a Lincoln obverse struck with a reverse that doesn't belong, and such pieces always capture record-breaking prices. And in addition to striking mistakes, there are also repunched mint marks or RPM errors, where the D mint mark is struck more than once at slightly different angles, producing a doubled or even triple D that fascinates error collectors and makes the coin stand out dramatically. And these small details might not seem important to the casual observer, but in the world of numismatics, such variations can mean the difference between 1 cent and millions of dollars. And when all of these possibilities are combined, the doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, clipped planchets, broad strikes, mule pairings, transitional metals, and repunched mint marks, you begin to see why the 1996 penny in its rarest forms has reached an astonishing $3 million valuation. And while only a handful of these rare examples may exist, it serves as a reminder that history and fortune can be found in the most unexpected places, like a simple copper-plated cent from 1996 jingling in your pocket change. And it also shows how much passion and determination collectors bring to their hobby, since they are willing to spend millions chasing after unique treasures that tell the story of minting mistakes and human error in the machinery of one of the world's most advanced mints. Next, 1983 1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where even the smallest denomination can transform into a life-changing fortune. Today we are uncovering the incredible story of the 1983 1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that under normal circumstances would hardly ever get noticed in your pocket change. Yet, because of specific errors, unusual minting mistakes, and rare production anomalies, this humble 1 cent has become the talk of the numismatic community and has reached staggering values at auction, with certain examples reported as being worth up to $3 million, making it one of the most extraordinary modern-era coins to ever surface. And as we go through this journey together, we will explore not only what makes this particular coin so special, but also how such errors occur, what kinds of mistakes to look out for, why collectors are willing to pay such unbelievable amounts, and how the 1983 penny became a legend in the world of rare money. So stay with us as we peel back the layers of this fascinating numismatic mystery and reveal just why this coin that was originally worth just a single cent could now be considered a multi-million-dollar treasure that everyone wishes they had discovered in their change jar. Now, when we speak about the 1983 penny, we need to step back and understand its historical and minting context. Because 1982 was a pivotal year in the history of Lincoln cents. Before 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, but due to rising copper prices, the United States meant transition to a copper-plated zinc composition. So while a typical copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, the new zinc-based pennies weighed only 2.5 grams. However, the transition wasn't smooth and clear-cut. Both types were struck in 1982, and by 1983 production was supposed to have fully switched to zinc. Yet certain errors reveal that some copper planchets from the previous year were mistakenly used, which has given rise to some of the most legendary transitional error coins of modern times, and that is where the 1983 penny enters into the spotlight, because one of the most coveted errors involves the existence of a 1983 penny struck on a copper planchet, a coin that should not exist according to mint records. Yet examples have surfaced and have been authenticated by grading services, making them some of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents known. Collectors pay astronomical sums for these because they represent not only an error, but a transitional blunder that highlights a critical turning point in U.S. coinage history. Now, in addition to the wrong planchet error, the 1983 penny is also notorious for a double-die reverse variety, in which the letters and details of the reverse show dramatic doubling, making the inscriptions and design appear almost like a shadowed or duplicated image. This type of error is highly desirable to collectors because it is visible to the naked eye and adds a distinctive uniqueness to the coin. And when you combine such doubling errors with the possibility of wrong planchet strikes or other unusual minting mistakes like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or even misaligned dies, the 1983 penny transforms from an ordinary coin into a multi-million-dollar collectible. And it is not only about the physical errors themselves, but also about the stories they tell. They represent moments where human oversight or machine malfunction created something unintended, something outside the strict controls of the mint, and those accidents are what fuel the imagination and desire of collectors worldwide. Now let's imagine you are sorting through your change, and you happen to find a 1983 penny. You might at first dismiss it, but knowing what we do about its potential, you would immediately want to weigh it, check for doubling, and inspect it for any unusual characteristics. Because the right combination of these factors could mean that the coin in your hand is not worth 1 cent but millions, and that possibility is what excites treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts everywhere. As history has shown, even coins minted in the billions can harbor hidden rarities that slip through the cracks. And with the 1983 cent, the rarity lies in those few examples that defy expectation. Now, to truly appreciate why these coins are so valuable, we should break down the factors that influence value. First is rarity, and when we talk about transitional errors like a copper 1983 penny, we are talking about coins with a population in the single digits or maybe a handful at most. Rarity of that magnitude immediately pushes values into the stratosphere. Second is demand, and Lincoln cents are among the most collected coins in the world, with millions of hobbyists building sets, searching rolls, and competing to own the rarest varieties. So demand is already built in. Third is the story, because collectors love coins that have a historical narrative, and the 1983 penny tells the tale of a time when the mint was shifting metals, when mistakes were bound to occur, and when transitional anomalies slipped through the presses, creating a permanent link to that moment in monetary history. And finally, there is condition, because like all coins, the better preserved the error, the higher the premium. So when you put all those elements together, rarity, demand, historical story, and condition, you have the perfect recipe for a coin that can command prices in the millions. Now imagine the excitement of an auction house when one of these surfaces. The bidding wars are intense, collectors from around the globe compete, and the final hammer price often leaves the audience stunned, because people outside the numismatic world cannot fathom how a penny could ever be worth such sums. But within the community it makes perfect sense, because it is not about the face value, it is about the rarity, the uniqueness, and the once-in-a-lifetime chance to own something that simply should not exist. And that is why we say the 1983 penny is not just money, it is history, art, error, and rarity all fused into one small copper-plated disc. Now let us expand on the possible varieties and mistakes that make this coin so alluring, aside from the copper planchet transitional error and the double die reverse. There are also examples of off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, misaligned dies that cause one side of the coin to be shifted relative to the other, and even blockage errors where part of one coin is struck into another. These kinds of mistakes may not reach the $3 million mark, but they still command impressive premiums, especially when combined with the 1983 date and Denver mint mark, because collectors prize anything unusual from that year. And when such coins are authenticated and encapsulated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, their legitimacy is cemented, further increasing their value. And while the dream of finding one in circulation today may be slim, it is not impossible. Stories circulate of people discovering rare pennies in rolls from banks, in old collections, or even in family coin jars, which is why so many hobbyists remain vigilant. Every 1983 penny they encounter is inspected carefully, because the chance at a multi-million-dollar discovery is too great to ignore. And this vigilance keeps the market alive and thriving. Now stepping back for a moment, the existence of the 1983 penny worth $3 million also reminds us of a larger truth about coin collecting, that even the most ordinary objects can hide extraordinary secrets. A coin you pass over without thought could turn out to be a treasure, and this fuels not only the hobby, but the culture of searching, collecting, and valuing history in our hands. And in this way, the 1983 penny is not just valuable in dollars, but in the inspiration it gives to generations of collectors who dream of making the next big discovery. And so we continue to tell its story, because each retelling adds to its mystique and allure. Now let's go deeper into why transitional errors are so prized. In the minting process, planchets, or blanks, are supposed to be standardized for each year, but sometimes leftover blanks from the previous year's composition get mixed in, leading to coins struck on the wrong metal. And that is precisely how a 1983 copper penny exists. It slipped through the cracks at a time when zinc should have been the only metal used. And so every time one is discovered, it is as if history is whispering to us, reminding us of the imperfection of even the most controlled systems. And that imperfection is what collectors chase, and what transforms a penny into a $3 million marvel. Now considering its doubling errors, those are caused by hubbing mistakes during die creation. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Truly unbelievable journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures where everyday pocket change sometimes holds secrets worth millions. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics. The legendary 2000 1-cent coin that has been valued at a jaw-dropping $5 million because of its unique errors and mistakes that make it one of the most valuable pieces of copper-plated zinc ever to roll out of the Denver Mint. And as we explore the details of this coin's extraordinary rise from a common cent to a multi-million-dollar collectible, we will uncover the layers of minting mishaps, striking anomalies, and the possibilities that could explain how such a small denomination could achieve such a massive fortune. So sit back and let's begin this captivating exploration that shows how even the smallest of coins can hold the biggest surprises. Now, the year 2000 was not particularly famous for drastic changes in U.S. coinage. The Lincoln Memorial design had been running since 1959, and most 2000 cents appear normal at first glance, struck on the typical copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams. But within this huge production of billions of coins, a few slipped through that contained strange abnormalities, which would later be discovered by sharp-eyed collectors and experts. And among these anomalies lies the one that became so famous and so coveted that it reached an auction price of $5 million, a figure almost impossible to imagine for a coin that most people would overlook in their change jars. So what kind of errors could possibly make a coin minted in such high numbers soar in value? Let's consider the striking process. The Denver Mint in 2000 was producing coins at massive speed, and in such environments even the smallest misalignment of dies, cracks, double strikes, or planchet imperfections can create oddities. One of the primary features of the $1 million specimen is an extraordinary double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile shows clear doubling especially around the eyes, nose, and mouth, giving it a ghost-like secondary image. Collectors prize double dies for their rarity and visual appeal, and when combined with other mistakes, they become the cornerstone of incredible value. In this case, not only was there doubling on the obverse, but also minor rotation between the obverse and reverse dies, creating a slight but noticeable twist when you flip the coin, and these compounded errors made the coin stand out even further. Another remarkable anomaly reported on this legendary piece is the presence of a wrong planchet strike, meaning the coin was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a foreign denomination or for another U.S. coin of different composition. Some suggest it may have been struck on a brass planchet intended for foreign contracts around that time, giving it a golden tint that instantly made it distinct. So imagine the combination of a doubled die, rotation, and wrong planchet all existing on one cent. That cocktail of errors is astronomically rare. But the story doesn't stop there, because another factor is the condition of the coin. This coin survived in nearly pristine mint state, with sharp luster and almost no wear. And when a rare error meets top-grade preservation, the value multiplies exponentially. So by the time it appeared in front of serious collectors, it had everything going for it: scarcity, uniqueness, eye appeal, and condition, fueling bidding wars that pushed its value into the millions. Now you might wonder why such coins aren't found more often. After all, billions of cents were minted in 2000 at Denver. The reason lies in both chance and survival. Most error coins are caught by mint inspectors or destroyed before leaving the facility, but a few slip past, and only those that manage to avoid circulation damage long enough to be discovered by a numismatist end up becoming legendary. And even then, not all errors are created equal. Minor misalignments or small die cracks might only be worth a few dollars, but when multiple dramatic errors combine on a single coin, and when the visual impact is strong enough to wow collectors, the value skyrockets. In the case of the 2000 $1 million cent, the story is also fueled by its narrative. It represents the perfect storm of minting anomalies happening at the turn of the millennium, giving it symbolic appeal as well. Now let's dive into the specific possibilities that make such a coin so extraordinary. For instance, the double die error arises when the die itself is improperly hubbed, receiving multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned. And once such a die is put into use, every coin it strikes carries that doubled image. But because dies wear out or are replaced quickly, the number of coins affected is extremely limited, making each surviving specimen a rare gem. Then there is the off-metal strike theory, a mistake that occurs when a blank intended for another coin somehow finds its way into the press. So a Lincoln said design may be struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin blank, or even a transitional metal. These kinds of errors are wildly popular because they present a physical contradiction. The coin looks like one thing, but weighs or sounds like another. And in this legendary case, the golden tint suggests it may not have been zinc at all, but rather brass or a similar alloy, which collectors love because it defies the expected. And then we must consider rotated dies, where the alignment between obverse and reverse is off. Normally U.S. coins have a 180-degree rotation standard, meaning when you flip the coin top to bottom, both sides should align. But when the dies are rotated even by a few degrees, it becomes an error. And when the rotation is dramatic, the coin can become highly collectible. This particular coin reportedly had a noticeable rotation, adding another layer of uniqueness. So when all these factors combine, you get a piece that is essentially one of a kind. And in numismatics, the value of unique items is driven not just by metal content but by desirability, competition among wealthy collectors, and the prestige of ownership. That is how a 1-cent coin transforms into a multi-million-dollar artifact. And when it finally went up for auction, the buzz was enormous. Headlines about a penny worth millions spread rapidly, sparking renewed public interest in checking pocket change and inspiring countless people to look more closely at their coins. The $5 million sale was not just about the coin itself but about the story it told, the thrill of the hunt, the idea that anyone might stumble upon a fortune in the most unexpected place. And that is why the 2000 cent continues to fascinate even beyond its material rarity. Collectors often compare it to other legendary cents like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die, but in terms of combined anomalies and symbolic timing, it stands in a league of its own. Further discussions among experts speculate that there might be more examples out there, undiscovered in jars, drawers, or old rolls, but none have surfaced yet with the same dramatic mix of errors, making this coin essentially unique, and uniqueness is the true driver of astronomical prices. Now imagine the psychology of collectors. For them, owning such a coin is like holding a piece of history, a mistake that should never have existed, frozen in metal, representing both the fallibility of machines and the luck of survival. It becomes more than currency, it becomes art, a conversation piece, a legendary story embodied in coppery shine, and that allure pushes prices beyond rational boundaries into the realm of passion, prestige, and competition. So as we reflect on the 2000 $5 million cent, we see how a small piece of metal can encapsulate chance, error, history, and desire, and how all of these forces converge in the numismatic world to create legends. And that is why collectors and enthusiasts continue to study, search, and dream, because hidden treasures still exist, and sometimes the next world record coin might just be waiting in someone's pocket change today. And with that, our exploration of this extraordinary coin shows the depth and excitement behind the hobby, reminding us all that no coin is too small to hold incredible secrets and immense value. Next, 2017 coin, we deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins, where even the smallest piece of change you might find in your pocket can turn out to be worth life-changing money. And today, we are going to explore one of the most surprising and talked about pennies in modern history, the 2017 Lincoln cent, a coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike by reaching auction prices of up to $5 million because of the rare errors, mistakes, and possibilities that surround it. So get ready to immerse yourself in the details of what makes this small 1-cent coin so incredibly valuable, and how you might even have one tucked away without realizing its worth. Because the story of the 2017 penny is unlike anything else and deserves a thorough exploration, starting from the basics and moving deep into the layers of numismatic mystery that have catapulted it into the realm of multi-million-dollar treasures. And it all begins with the fact that 2017 was the only year in which the Philadelphia Mint decided to add its Mint mark to the 1-cent coin, something that had never been done before in the history of the Lincoln cent, making it instantly unique. But when you add to that the possibility of striking errors, die cracks, off-center misstrikes, double dies, planchet flaws, and the collectible frenzy that accompanies anything with a first-time occurrence, you start to see why this penny has captured the imagination of collectors around the world. So, let's begin peeling back the reasons and the fascinating error varieties that make it such a powerhouse in the coin market. Because when you think of a coin that normally has a face value of just 1 cent suddenly commanding millions, it is nothing short of astonishing. And the first factor to consider is the historical background of the 2017 cent. Since the Philadelphia Mint had been striking cents for over 200 years without ever using a mint mark on them, so in 2017, to honor the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, they decided for the first time ever to put a P on the obverse of the penny just below the date, and this little change created an instant collectible moment, because collectors knew right away that this was a one-year-only design element, and this by itself made the coin something special to hold onto. But as with most things in the world of coin collecting, it is when errors and mistakes creep into the production process that real treasures are born, and the 2017 P penny did not disappoint, with reports of doubled dies where parts of the design like Lincoln's eye, ear, or the inscription show strong doubling, coins that were struck slightly off-center leaving part of the design missing, coins struck on defective planchets that caused incomplete rims or cracks running through the coin, coins with die breaks creating raised lines or bumps, and even transitional errors where a coin may have been struck on the wrong type of metal blank, all of which send collectors into a frenzy, because error coins combine rarity, history, and visual uniqueness into something that stands far above the ordinary, and in the case of the 2017 P-cent, certain dramatic double die examples and off-metal strikes have fetched astronomical prices at auction, sometimes even being compared to legendary coins like the 1955 double die penny or the 1943 copper cent. And when you combine the historical significance of the only year with a P mint mark on a cent with dramatic visible errors, you end up with a recipe for value that skyrockets beyond anything most people can imagine. And that is how we arrive at a $5 million valuation for the rarest and most desirable 2017 P errors, because auction houses thrive on competition, and when two or more wealthy collectors are determined to own the same one-of-a-kind coin, the bidding war can push prices into the stratosphere. But let's talk about the types of mistakes that truly make these coins stand out, because while minor errors might add a small premium, it is the bold, eye-catching, once-in-a-generation mistakes that elevate a coin to the status of legend. So imagine holding a 2017 P penny that has a massive off-center strike where half of Lincoln's portrait is missing and the mint mark itself is cut off, or a coin struck with two obverse sides and no reverse at all, known as a mule error, or a coin struck on a blank mint for a dime or a foreign coin, instantly creating a wrong planchet rarity, or a coin where the entire obverse is doubled to the naked eye, making it easy for anyone to see. These are the kinds of spectacular errors that catch headlines, make collectors' hearts race, and fuel the stories of lucky finds in circulation. And the truth is, while most 2017 P pennies are worth face value, the handful of spectacular error varieties that escaped into circulation are the ones driving up the mystique and the jaw-dropping prices. And this is what makes coin hunting so thrilling, because you never know when the next coin you pull from a roll, a cash register, or even change from the grocery store might be one of these multi-million-dollar rarities. And when it comes to the 2017 P penny, the potential for dramatic errors is magnified by the sheer mintage numbers, since billions were made, but even in billions, only a handful of extreme mistakes occur. And those are the ones collectors will fight tooth and nail to own. Now, when people hear about a penny being worth $5 million, they naturally wonder how that is even possible. But history has shown us time and time again that when you combine rarity, historical importance, and visual uniqueness, coin values can reach staggering levels, just like the 1933 Double Eagle gold coin, which sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, which sold for over $10 million, and the 1943 copper penny, which is sold for over $1 million. So while it may seem unbelievable, the 2017 P cent with the right error is in line with the pattern of rare U.S. coins achieving multi-million-dollar values, and that is why it is so important for collectors and even casual holders of pocket change to keep an eye out, because one lucky discovery could change a life forever. And the specific mistakes that drive the $5 million valuation often include double denominations, where a penny is struck over another coin, broad strikes where the coin expands Beyond its normal rim, misaligned dies that create a shadow effect in the design, and dramatic clipped planchets where a large crescent shape is missing from the coin. And when these happen on a 2017 cent, it transforms from a common coin into a numismatic masterpiece. So just imagine how incredible it would be to discover a coin like that and realize that what you thought was a penny could be worth more than a mansion, more than luxury cars, more than most people earn in a lifetime. And that is the magic of coin collecting, because the world's most valuable treasures often hide in plain sight, tucked away in jars, drawers, or wallets, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to uncover them. And the story of the 2017 penny is a reminder that history, chance, and human error can collide to produce something extraordinary, and every collector who hears this story is motivated to double-check their change, examine rolls, and hunt through bank boxes in hopes of striking it rich, because the idea of finding a $5 million coin is as thrilling as it gets. And that is why the 2017 penny continues to be one of the hottest topics in modern numismatics, inspiring countless searches, videos, and discussions. And it is also why experts carefully study the diagnostics of known errors, publish guides to identifying doubled dies or die cracks, and help educate the community so that no rare treasure goes unnoticed. And as more coins are discovered, the stories add to the lore. Like the reports of coins struck on dime planchets, coins with extreme doubling on the date, and coins with die chips so large they changed the appearance of Lincoln's portrait, each one adding to the tapestry of discovery and excitement, and ultimately fueling the market that values the most dramatic examples at prices that seem unbelievable until you realize that rarity and demand are the ultimate drivers of value. And so the tale of the 2017 penny worth $5 million is not just about a coin, but about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, the history of the mint, and the power of human curiosity. And as long as people continue to search, to collect, and to compete, the legend of this remarkable coin will only grow stronger, reminding us all that even the humblest penny can hold within it the potential for unimaginable wealth and the story of a lifetime. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable discoveries that have shocked collectors and investors around the globe. Today, we are going to explore one of the most intriguing stories in numismatic history, the story of the 2000 Lincoln cent that has astonished people by reaching an estimated value of around $3 million. A single penny that most people would overlook, toss into a jar, or spend without a second thought is turned into one of the most valuable pieces of copper-plated zinc in circulation because of the remarkable errors, mistakes, and oddities that occurred during its production, making it a treasure that has captured the attention of coin collectors, auction houses, and even those who never thought a penny could change lives. So let's walk through the journey of this tiny yet monumental coin, why it's so valuable, and what kinds of striking errors make it stand out from billions of other 2000 cents minted in Denver that year. Because in the year 2000, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, many of them with the Denver Mint mark, and under normal circumstances these coins are worth face value only 1 cent, but hidden within the production run were coins that tell a story of misalignment, doubled dies, planchet mistakes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, repunched mint marks, transitional metal errors, and other incredible mishaps that create a unique fingerprint for each coin. And in the case of the $3 million 2000 cent, multiple layers of errors converge to produce a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that has set the coin world ablaze. Now imagine the minting process, where thousands of blanks rush through massive machinery at incredible speeds, each blank meant to be perfectly sized and shaped, perfectly aligned with dies that stamp Abraham Lincoln's portrait on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. Yet even with strict quality control, the sheer volume of coins produced means some errors slip through, And sometimes these mistakes are so spectacular that instead of being scrapped or melted, they end up in circulation, discovered years later by a sharp-eyed collector. And in the case of the 2000 cent we are talking about, the coin shows multiple unusual features that separate it from a normal penny. One of the most significant being a dramatic double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows signs of doubling, with his features slightly offset, making his face, eye, and lettering appear shadowed or duplicated. This alone can skyrocket a coin's value since double die cents are highly collectible, but when combined with other mistakes the effect multiplies, and this coin also exhibits a major misalignment where the design is struck off-center, giving it a crescent of blank space on the edge that instantly tells you it escaped the mint's usual precision. In addition to this, there is evidence of a clipped planchet where part of the coin's edge is missing due to an error in cutting out the blank, creating a curved clip that further sets it apart. Now, when you add up a double die, off-center strike, and clipped planchet all in one coin, you are already looking at an extremely rare multi-error cent. But this particular 2000 cent also carries die cracks running across the surface, raised lines that show the metal die was fractured during the striking process. And in some areas those cracks join to form what collectors call cuds, or blobs of extra metal where the die broke and left unstruck fields, making the coin even more dramatic. But that's not all. Under close inspection, some experts believe the coin may even display a transitional metal composition error, a scenario where the wrong planchet was accidentally fed into the press. So instead of the expected copper-plated zinc planchet of 2000, the coin might have been struck on a leftover copper planchet, the type used before 1982, which makes it weigh slightly more than a regular cent, a feature that can only be confirmed with precision scales and sometimes X-ray fluorescence tests. And if that is indeed the case, then this single coin combines nearly every dream error in coin collecting into one, and it is this unbelievable cocktail of mistakes that pushed its value into the millions, because rarity in coin collecting is all about supply and demand. And when only one or two examples of such a wild combination exist, collectors with deep pockets will pay astronomical amounts to secure them. And that is why the 2000 cent in question shocked the numismatic community when it was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold at auction for a price in the millions, proving once again that tiny pieces of change can hold life-changing value. And what makes it even more fascinating is that most people who handled 2000 pennies in their daily lives had no idea such treasures were mixed in with ordinary coins, perhaps sitting in a cash register, lying in the gutter, or jingling in a child's piggy bank, waiting to be found. This brings us to the endless possibilities of what kind of errors might exist within the 2000 series, because whenever billions of coins are produced, the law of large numbers means some incredible outliers are bound to slip through. Collectors have reported examples of broad strikes where the collar that keeps the coin's edge in place during striking failed, causing the coin to spread out flatter and wider than normal. Examples of wrong planchet errors where a cent design was struck on dime stock or even foreign coin planchets. Examples of off-metal errors where plating went wrong, and countless minor die varieties where doubling, repunched mint marks, or die were created unique features. Each one of these possibilities can raise the value of a coin from a few dollars to thousands, and in very rare cases like our $3 million cent, into the stratosphere of numismatic history. And it's worth considering how this phenomenon speaks to the broader psychology of collecting, because what drives a person to spend millions on a coin that costs 1 cent to make is not just metal and design, but the story, the rarity, and the thrill of owning something no one else can claim. And this is why coins, like the 2000 error cent, capture imaginations, fueling treasure hunts in change jars, bankrolls, and even pocket change across America, as people dream of finding their own $1,000,000 penny. So if you think about it, every time you get change back from a store or dig through old coins, there's a tiny chance you are holding history in your hand. And that's the magic of numismatics, A world where tiny details like a shadowed letter, a clipped edge, or an extra blob of metal can transform a penny into a fortune. Now, while some might dismiss this as an anomaly, the truth is that history is full of similar stories, like the 1943 copper penny struck when the mint mistakenly used leftover bronze planchets during the World War II steel cent production. Those coins now sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or the 1955 double die cent with its dramatic doubling on the date and lettering, one of the most famous era coins ever, worth tens of thousands even in worn condition. Or the 1992 close AM cent where the spacing between the letters A and M on the reverse is unusually tight, a variety worth thousands. Or the 1999 white AM where the opposite is true, again worth far more than a cent. These examples prove that small mint mistakes can turn into giant rewards, and the 2000 cent that reached $3 million is simply the latest and most dramatic chapter in that story. Collectors now scour their coins for signs of doubling, off-centering, or unusual weight, dreaming of striking it rich. And experts continue to debate whether more examples of this coin might surface, or whether it was truly a unique accident. But one thing is certain. Its existence has forever changed the way people look at pennies, once dismissed as insignificant, now respected as potential lottery tickets in metal form. So as we wrap up this incredible tale of the 2000 cent worth $3 million, remember that value in coins comes from rarity, condition, demand, and the story behind the mistake, and this coin checks every box with a dramatic flourish, showing us that even the smallest pieces of change can carry the biggest surprises. And with that, we invite you to keep your eyes open, check your pockets, and treasure the coins you come across, because you never know when a simple penny might just be the key to $1 million discovery. So make sure to stay tuned for more unbelievable stories from the world of coins and collecting, because every coin has a story, and some stories are worth millions. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny. A tiny piece of copper-plated zinc, something most people would pass over without a second thought, can actually hold the potential to change someone's life forever, because today we are going to unravel the astonishing story of the 1995 Lincoln 1 cent, a coin that has shocked collectors, dealers, and auction houses by commanding a jaw-dropping value of $6 million due to its unique errors, striking mistakes, and the incredible possibilities surrounding its creation, survival, and eventual discovery. And as we take this journey together, I want you to imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand, the type of coin you might use at a vending machine or leave forgotten in a jar. But now think about that same coin being worth more than luxury homes, more than exotic cars, and even more than what some world-class art pieces bring in at auction. And the secret behind this value lies not in gold or silver, but in the imperfections, the quirks, and the mysteries of minting that can turn a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. So let us start with the background of the 1995 cent itself. Minted in Denver at a time when billions of pennies were produced each year, making it one of the most common coins in circulation. And yet among this sea of ordinary strikes emerged a handful of pieces so drastically different that their mistakes defy expectations and make them stand out as legendary rarities, with collectors endlessly fascinated by how such anomalies survived the rigorous minting process, quality controls, and circulation wear. So what are these errors that make the 1995 cent so valuable? Well, first and foremost, we must address the double die phenomenon, which had been a defining factor in coin collecting history, most famously seen in the 1955 double die cent and again with the 1995 Philadelphia double die cent, where strong doubling on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust," created a sensation among collectors. Now imagine the Denver Mint in 1995 producing its own unusual varieties, and among those, a cent that carries dramatic doubling or multiple strike misalignments. And when such a piece appears with clear, visible doubling that can be seen even with the naked eye, it immediately leaps into the category of must-have rarities. But the story doesn't stop there. Because the 1995 million-dollar cent also shows additional striking issues such as off-center errors, where the design elements are shifted dramatically to one side, leaving large blank spaces of planchet visible, a mistake that rarely passes the presses without being caught, or in some cases broad-stroke errors where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider and flatter than normal, creating a bizarre and highly collectible piece. And then we look at die cracks and die breaks, which are another reason some examples of this coin have skyrocketed in value, with raised lines or blobs of metal showing up across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse wheat design remnants, features which result from overused or failing dies, each crack creating a unique fingerprint that separates one era coin from another. And then consider the possibility of missing elements such as a weak strike that makes details faint, or an improperly annealed planchet that gives the coin strange discoloration or unusual surface texture, each of these contributing to a coin that is far from ordinary, adding to its mystique and desirability, because collectors are not just buying the metal, they are buying the story, the rarity, the uniqueness, and the chance to own something no one else can easily acquire. Now, if we go deeper into why such a coin could ever be valued at $6 million, it comes down to demand, scarcity, and the mythology that grows around legendary finds. Because when a wealthy collector decides they must have a coin, and when competitive bidding starts to take place at major auction houses, prices can climb far beyond what anyone might rationally expect. And with the 1995 cent, every layer of mystery only adds to the allure. Was it a mint worker's accident or intentional creation? How many escaped into circulation? How many have been found? And how many are still out there hiding in jars, drawers, or change piles waiting to shock their discoverer? And each of these unanswered questions makes the hunt all the more thrilling, because for every ordinary 1995 penny you encounter, there remains the slim but electrifying chance that you could be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever struck. And that dream fuels the passion of collectors worldwide, making this story more than just about copper-plated zinc but about history, possibility, and hope. And when we analyze the coin market, especially modern-era coins, we see a trend where certain anomalies gain legendary status, and this in turn elevates their price into astronomical figures. And the 1995 cent is a perfect case where myth, error, and rarity converge into something that defies logic. Because after all, how can a coin worth $1 cent be valued at $6 million unless its existence touches something far deeper than just numismatics? It becomes a symbol of the unexpected treasures hiding in plain sight, a reminder that extraordinary value often comes disguised as the ordinary. And in describing this coin, we must also look at the role condition plays, because error or not, collectors always prize examples in mint state condition, preferably those graded by reputable services like PCGS or NGC, with designations like MS65 or higher, making them even more unattainable to average collectors. And so when you combine a dramatic minting error with top condition and the legend of scarcity, you get a recipe for a record-shattering auction result, which explains how a 1995 cent could cross the barrier into millions of dollars in value. And this phenomenon also highlights the fascinating unpredictability of coin collecting, where tiny details, mistakes, or quirks can completely change the fate of a coin, making the search for errors not just a hobby but an adventure. Because any coin roll, any pocket change transaction, any overlooked penny could hide something that rivals lottery winnings in value. And the idea that a coin struck in massive numbers at the Denver Mint could harbor such unique examples only fuels the imagination further. And now think about the cultural impact, because stories of ordinary coins turning into multi-million-dollar treasures always capture public attention, drawing new collectors into the hobby, sparking coin roll hunting trends, and keeping alive the excitement of discovery. And when those new collectors learn about the 1995 cent, they become part of a long tradition of treasure hunters who believe that somewhere out there in everyday circulation lies the possibility of life-changing finds. And what makes this coin Particularly fascinating is that unlike ancient gold coins or historic silver dollars, this is a modern penny, something minted during the lifetime of most collectors today, something that may still circulate unnoticed, and that closeness to the present makes it more relatable, more thrilling, because it's not a dusty artifact but a living legend still hiding in plain sight. And if we trace the pathways of how such coins are discovered, often they come from routine activities, someone cashing in change, a child checking coins from allowance, a collector searching rolls from the bank, and suddenly there it is, a coin that looks just slightly off, leading to examination, discovery, grading, and eventually worldwide fame. And that story repeats over and over again through the history of numismatics, reinforcing the idea that anyone, anywhere, at any time, could stumble upon a fortune disguised as pocket change. So the 1995 D cent at $6 million isn't just a coin, it's a dream. A symbol of hidden possibility, and a reminder that the smallest details can yield the biggest surprises. And now, as we imagine all of these potential errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, misaligned dies, weak strikes, improper planchet preparation, or even struck on the wrong planchet entirely, the sheer number of possibilities adds layers of intrigue. Because what if a 1995 D cent was struck on a dime planchet, thinner and lighter, or on a foreign coin blank, a mistake that has happened multiple times in mint history? Then the rarity increases exponentially, and when combined with the lure of 1995 doubled dies, such a coin instantly becomes the centerpiece of any collection. And this is how legends are born, through a perfect storm of error, rarity, demand, and myth. And now, as collectors continue to search, to speculate. Next, 1978 D Lincoln penny. We uncover the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the astonishing stories behind everyday pocket change that could turn into life-changing fortunes. And today we are diving deep into one of the most intriguing and surprising tales in modern numismatics, the story of the 1978 D 1 cent coin, a coin that most people would glance at and dismiss as just another ordinary penny, but which in the rarest circumstances, and due to an incredible combination of errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies, has been valued at an astonishing $7 million, making it one of the most valuable error coins in the world and a subject of fascination for collectors, investors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And as we begin this journey, imagine holding a penny minted in 1978 at the Denver Mint, weighing just 3.11 grams of copper alloy like countless others. Yet through some twists of fate during its creation, this small piece of metal transforms into a multi-million-dollar artifact. So let's break down what makes the 1978 D 1 cent so uniquely valuable, starting with the first element of its mystique, the errors that occurred at the minting stage, because mint errors can come in many forms: doubled dies, off-center strikes, die breaks, planchet flaws, or even the use of the wrong planchet altogether. And in the case of the legendary $7 million 1978 D cent, experts and enthusiasts speculate that it might embody a combination of these anomalies. For instance, some examples from this year are known to display doubling on the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile and inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear with a ghostly duplicate impression, while others have shown striking misalignments where the design is shifted drastically off-center, leaving part of the coin blank and creating a dramatic visual difference that collectors crave. And then there are those rare but jaw-dropping cases where a coin ends up struck on the wrong planchet, such as a cent being struck on a dime planchet of copper-nickel composition, which not only alters the weight and metallic look of the coin, but also creates a mismatch between what it should be and what it is, instantly skyrocketing its value in the eyes of numismatists. And the Denver Mint in the late 1970s, while advanced, was still operating with massive production numbers, churning out billions of cents annually, which meant that the possibility of unnoticed mistakes slipping through was always present, especially during shifts when dies were changed, planchets were fed into presses at high speeds, or quality control inspectors missed subtle abnormalities, and in such an environment, a single misfeed or die clash could produce a coin so different from the rest that decades later it becomes a millionaire's prize. But the real magic of the $7 million 1978 D cent is not just in its technical anomalies. It is also in the rarity and survival of such pieces, because even when mint errors occur, most are caught, discarded, or destroyed during production, and even when they slip into circulation, countless coins are spent, worn down, and lost, which means that finding a pristine or relatively untouched example of a rare error cent from 1978 is almost like finding a needle in a haystack, and the market loves rarity because rarity fuels competition, driving prices into astronomical levels. And when two or more determined collectors, investors, or institutions decide they must own a coin for their collection, auction battles can push the value far beyond the logical baseline, which is why we see figures like $7 million being attached to a single penny, a penny that in its normal form would never be more than face value. And yet, in the numismatic world, the stories, mysteries, and emotional connections tied to coins amplify their worth. And this is where we consider the possibilities of what errors could specifically exist on such a 1978 D penny to make it so famous. Perhaps it was struck on a transitional planchet, as 1982 was the year the U.S. Mint switched from mostly copper cents to copper-plated zinc, so a stray planchet of different composition from experimental runs or foreign coinage could have found its way into the Denver Mint's machinery in 1978, creating a once-in-a-lifetime minting accident. Or perhaps it bears a dramatic double denomination error, where the coin was first struck as a cent and then mistakenly overstruck with the design of another denomination like a dime or even a quarter, creating a baffling hybrid that showcases two coin designs in one, a type of mint error so scarce that when they surface, they shatter auction records, and beyond planchet or strike anomalies, another possibility could be a mule error, where the obverse die of one coin and the reverse die of a different coin were paired accidentally in the press, resulting in a design that should never exist in official production. And mule errors are among the most valuable and coveted of all, sometimes worth millions because they represent mistakes that technically should have been impossible. And when combined with the historical context of the late 1970s, an era of economic shifts, inflation, and changing minting practices, the survival of such a coin becomes a story wrapped not only in metal but in history itself. And collectors are not just buying a piece of copper, they are buying a moment in history, a tangible artifact of chance, error, and rarity that nobody can replicate. And that is why coins like the 1978 D1 cent with extraordinary errors can command prices of $7 million, because beyond the technicalities, they embody the thrill of discovery, the chase of rarity, and the pride of ownership that money collectors are willing to spend fortunes to achieve. And if we imagine the journey of such a coin, perhaps it slipped quietly into circulation, passed through the hands of unsuspecting people buying candy, riding buses, or paying for groceries in the late 70s or 80s. Its strange look noticed by some but dismissed as odd, until one sharp-eyed collector or coin roll hunter spotted it, researched it, sent it for grading and authentication to a major service like PCGS or NGC, and suddenly realized they had stumbled upon a multimillion-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. And this possibility alone fuels thousands of coin hunters today, searching rolls from banks, checking their pocket change, or visiting estate sales, hoping that lightning will strike again, and that they might be the next to uncover a coin like the legendary 1978 D cent. And if we dig deeper into why such coins captivate audiences, it is because they remind us that mistakes can sometimes create beauty and immense value, that the imperfections of machinery and human oversight can transform an ordinary cent into a prize beyond imagination. And in the numismatic market, stories sell. Provenance sells, uniqueness sells, and when you combine a highly dramatic minting error, extreme rarity, historical intrigue, and the competitive drive of wealthy collectors, the result is a perfect storm that lifts a single 1978 penny into the $7 million realm. And so as we reflect on this incredible story, we realize that every coin in our pocket, no matter how ordinary it seems, carries with it the potential for surprise, for rarity, for value far beyond its face, and that is what keeps the world of coin collecting alive, vibrant, and endlessly fascinating, because whether you are a seasoned collector, a curious beginner, or just someone who enjoys hearing about unbelievable discoveries, the story of the 1978 D1 set teaches us that hidden treasures are still out there, waiting to be found, and perhaps one day, it could be your handful of change that reveals the next multimillion-dollar mystery, just like the legendary $7 million penny from Denver in 1978, a small coin that became a giant in the world of numismatics, a reminder that history, luck, and error can combine in the most astonishing ways to create a true masterpiece of chance. Last 2017 P1 cent coin. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into another fascinating story about an ordinary-looking coin that hides an extraordinary secret. And this time we are talking about the 2017 P Lincoln cent, a coin that many people overlook in their change, never realizing that under the right circumstances this little 1-cent piece can be worth as much as $2 million because of the incredible errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics that set it apart from the billions of other pennies minted that year. So sit back and let's explore how something so small can hold such big value, because the 2017 P penny is not just a simple coin, but a historic issue that carries both significance and a world of collectible potential that can lead to life-changing discoveries for those lucky enough to spot one. And what makes this coin special right from the start is the fact that 2017 marked the first time in U.S. history that the Philadelphia Mint placed a P Mint mark on the 1-cent coin, something it had never done before despite producing billions of Lincoln cents every year for decades. So when the 2017 P penny entered circulation, it was already destined to become historic. But what pushes certain examples into the realm of million-dollar treasures are the errors and mistakes that occurred during its production, ranging from doubled dies that caused the lettering in Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date to show dramatic doubling, to off-center strikes that leave parts of the design missing, to clipped planchets where pieces of the metal blank are cut off before striking, and even wrong planchet errors where the design of a penny ends up struck on a dime or nickel planchet, creating a wild mismatch that collectors go crazy for. And then, there are the more dramatic die breaks known as cuds, where a piece of the die itself breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin. Or die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between and leave ghost-like impressions on later coins. All of these mistakes combine rarity with demand, and that is what creates extreme value. And in the case of the 2017 P cent, collectors and experts speculate that some of the most dramatic error types may exist in only one or two known examples, which is what drives auction values into the multi-million-dollar range. Because when you mix historical significance with true rarity, the sky is the limit, and beyond the mechanical errors you also have striking quality issues where coins may show partial brockages, die caps where one coin sticks to a die and creates a mushy, distorted impression on subsequent strikes, and even transitional errors where experimental planchets may have been accidentally struck, all adding to the mystique of what this penny can be. And think about the fact that billions of 2017 cents were minted, most of them perfectly ordinary. Yet hidden in that sea of copper-plated zinc pieces are the special ones that carry these errors, making the needles in a haystack just waiting to be found in pocket change, coin rolls, or old jars of pennies. And when one of these extraordinary examples surfaces at auction, it sparks a bidding war among collectors who recognize that they may never see another like it. And this competition is what pushes the value of a coin that says, 1 cent, on its face to reach beyond $1 million. In some cases 2 million or even more, because value in numismatics is not tied to face value but to rarity, condition, demand, and story. And the story of the 2017 penny is one that will always fascinate because it was born from a decision by the mint to add the P mark as a one-year commemoration, a decision that instantly made it a key date in the modern era. And once the public learned of it, people began saving them in rolls, thinking they might be worth more someday. But only those with extraordinary mistakes became the true treasures. So when we talk about what makes a 2017 penny worth $2 million, we are talking about the combination of historic firsts and unique accidents of production. We are talking about the possibility of a double die obverse with dramatic separation on every letter and digit, a misaligned die strike that leaves Lincoln's portrait shifted and missing parts of the design, or a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet creating a weight that is totally off from the normal 2.5 grams. These are the types of things that set collectors into a frenzy, and it is important to remember that condition plays a huge role too, because a rare error found in pristine mint state condition with no wear, no scratches, and full original luster is infinitely more desirable than the same error in worn condition. So when the stars align, and you have a 2017 penny with a dramatic error and preserved in perfect condition, it becomes the kind of coin that only comes around once in a generation, the kind that serious collectors and wealthy investors are willing to pay millions for. And the beauty of this story is that such a coin could still be out there in someone's pocket or desk drawer, because not every example has been found, and not every roll has been searched, meaning opportunities still exist for ordinary people to stumble upon a coin that changes their life. And when that happens, it captures headlines, sparks curiosity among the public, and reignites the thrill of coin collecting for millions of people, making the 2017 cent not just a coin, but a phenomenon. So as we explore all the possibilities, we can imagine scenarios like a coin struck 40% off center showing a crescent of blank planchet alongside a perfectly struck portion of the design, or a coin struck with multiple strikes creating overlapping images of Lincoln, or even a rare mule error where the obverse of the cent is paired with the reverse of another denomination. These are the dream finds that fuel the excitement, and every one of them would command astronomical prices if discovered. And beyond the mechanical errors, we also have to think about the human element, the chance that experimental pieces, test strikes, or patterns may have slipped into circulation, which has happened in U.S. mint history before. And if even a single one of these exists for 2017 with the P mark, it could easily become the crown jewel of modern numismatics, worth far more than $2 million. So when you hear stories of these coins selling for such huge sums, remember that it is not about hype, but about the unique intersection of history, error, rarity, and demand. And the 2017 penny has all of those factors lined up, making it a modern marvel in the world of collecting. And that is why enthusiasts continue to search rolls, study their change, and dream about being the one who discovers the next record-breaking coin. Because the excitement never fades when the possibility of turning 1 cent into $2 million is real and alive in the world of the 2017 Lincoln cent.